So I was seeing this guy, super charming. You know, the type that I like. Super charming, loads of fun. We'd been seeing each other now for several months. And he works in an industry that's really taxing industry in the sense of this really crazy schedules, really hectic. And we're seeing each other maybe once a week, maybe sometimes twice, sometimes zero, but some weeks three times, sometimes four. It's just really, it oscillates heavily because of his sector. And as the weeks go by, we've set updates. We've set updates of, hey, let's have dinner on Tuesday, or perhaps let's do lunch on Wednesday. And for several weeks now, for 3 weeks now, 3 weeks in a row, whatever dates we had set up couldn't be met because of a change in his work schedule. I was getting a little ruffled, a little ruffled. More on that later. So we're talking about conflict this week. We're talking about conflict and common sources of conflict. What are some common sources of conflict for you? What just pushes your buttons and you're like, oh, not that again? Can you think of some? Is it the laundry bin? I had that happen to me. The laundry bin. Been there, done that. Is it the dishes in the sink? Okay. Is it the ex? Oh, the ex. Maybe the in-laws? Work? What are some common sources of conflict that not only do we have in relationships, but that we have them, but not, we have to identify them to have proper conversations about them when possible with foresight. For example, I'm just going to run off a list. Money, kids, exes, aging parents, infidelity and sex. That one's fun. Life management, things like chores, work, stress, da 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 da. In-laws, power struggles when someone is in a personal growth stage of their life concretely and they're still trying to impose the power dynamics that they have in their work, in your life, in your shared life. It's ugly. Habits, for example, when you start taking the other person for granted, because, you just get into the habit of things and they're not watering our plant. They're not watering our garden if we have a garden by then. And other things, perhaps boundaries, a quirk in their personality, lack of maturity. What are some common triggers for you, from previous relationships, or right now? For example, you could say, I've been really working hard in the last couple of years to just be a more patient person, a more patient and flexible person. But I'm not as easy as a sneaker yet. I'm trying to be as easy as a sneaker, but I'm just not there yet. And there's some things like being late that I just cannot handle. That could be it could be a huge trigger for you. And the thing is, or the thing here is for you to identify what are some common triggers for you. Because the quicker or the better you know what common triggers are for you, the easier the conversation will be with your partner. I have friends that I literally, I haven't gone to this devil of detail yet, but on my phone, I do make notes about my friends of things that I don't want to forget. Because there are things that I would write down on paper if I could, but on the phone, on your agenda, it's a great deal easier. Just use the notes portion. And I write things that either they like a lot or details that I simply don't want to forget, but it's not a detail that it's frequent enough for me to have it ingrained. So I just make a note of it as if I was writing it down. And I have friends that I know I cannot be late. I cannot be late. I'm usually a punctual person, but there are friends that I cannot be late with. And there are friends that I know they're going to be late. And it seems like a silly detail, but if it's a girlfriend, it's a guy friend, whatever. But for them, it's a trigger. I mean, it's a trigger. We will have a difficult 30 minutes of our 3-hour encounter because I was late. If I can avoid it, let me avoid it. So the things that you know about common triggers for you, once you know them, you can communicate them to your loved ones, to your friends, to your colleagues, to your partner, to your parents, to avoid conflict. Because remember, we want to avoid this full-blown explosion. The best way to avoid that is by labeling what are my triggers. Let me label my triggers. Lack of order is one of my triggers. I cannot. I'm a very flexible person. I am very flexible in all senses of the word. I've worked a lot on my flexibility. However, messiness, to live in it, I cannot. So that's a trigger for me. If you know that as my loved one, then you know that we must, and because you can have triggers, right? So if it's trigger, you have a scale, and if it's from a 1 to 10, no, I don't like disorder, but it might be a 1. But if it's a 10, then you know the house needs to be more or less neat. So that'll be a fun exercise for you as you run through your triggers, go through the wheel and think of, the physical body, other physical triggers that you don't like when someone scratches your head. You don't like that. I haven't met those people yet, but they might exist. They might exist. But that's a trigger for you. So physically, what are some triggers for you? Emotionally, what are some triggers for you? Mentally, even spiritually, what are some triggers for you? Do some self-work, some analysis here of what are some possible triggers for me. And then what are some possible triggers external to me? Like the ones we talked about, the in-laws, the kids, the money, the shared space, the chores, taking me for granted. What are some triggers that now involve our common space together that I can table, that I can say, okay, I don't want to have kids, so we don't need to talk about kids, but we do need to talk about aging parents. We need to talk about that because they're getting older. What are we going to do about that? That's a thing, that's an element, it's an item on our list that we must discuss. To avoid conflicts, the easiest way to avoid conflicts is to have these conversations up front and frequently in the event things have changed. See you tomorrow.